Well, few journalists have chronicled the strange tale of Michael Jackson's life and legal troubles in more detail than Maureen Orth, special correspondent for Vanity Fair magazine. She has covered Michael Jackson extensively since the early 1990s and joins us this evening from Washington. Maureen, you watched much of this trial. You were in the courtroom. Were you surprised by this verdict?
The part that surprised me was really about the alcohol, even as a misdemeanor, because in the juror press conference today, they said that one of the few witnesses they really recalled as believable was Jesus Salas, the ranch manager, and he testified that Michael was drunk on the premises while the accuser and his brother were there about 4 times a week. So that part surprised me. But then when I saw the press conference and some of the people who were speaking up, particularly one woman, they were people that we had thought among ourselves in the press corps were very pro-defense from the beginning. I also think that the mother in the case was a very, very powerful witness, but for the defense, not the prosecution. And Tom Mesereau was very, very skillful in the way he made her the real defendant in the trial.
It's pretty clear this came down to credibility. The jury clearly did not believe the accuser, did not believe his family. And I guess it all rode on that, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And the first time the jury ever saw the mother was in this rebuttal video that the family and the mother made to counteract the Martin Bashir documentary. And it was played to the jury 4 times, and it was an hour and 20 minutes each time. And on it, the mother was just lavish in her praise of Michael Jackson. And then she tried to say that every single part of it was scripted. And I think that once you had that really weakened the whole underpinnings of the case.
Maureen, you have written that Jackson feels that he is the victim of a conspiracy by others to try to gain control of his financial assets.
Yes.
How so? Can you...
Well, in the current issue of Vanity Fair, I interview a man who was brought to Neverland to figure out if there is some way they could have stopped the trial, because Michael Jackson thought that this mother had been paid off by his enemies who really wanted to get a hold of his most important economic asset, which is the Beatles song catalog. And so they were trying to devise all kinds of ways, and the man told him he should take truth serum, hypnosis, and a polygraph, and then broadcast it to the world, and it would effectively end the trial. But he didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. You have also written, Maureen, that Michael Jackson has engaged in questionable behavior for years. Do you think that kind of behavior is going to continue?
It will be very interesting to see what happens. I already see that up on his website he's comparing today to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the release of Nelson Mandela. I really do think that he really projects the whole trajectory in this country of fame to infamy, and it doesn't seem to matter if you're famous enough, you can just sort of get away with whatever you want. I think that he's been put through a lot, and it would be very important for him to realize, but he usually goes through life thinking of himself as a victim, and I think this might give him a feeling that he's invincible.
Maureen Orth, your current article in Vanity Fair does break some new ground in in-depth reporting. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Maureen Orth, a special correspondent for Vanity Fair magazine, has been reporting on Michael Jackson since sexual abuse charges first surfaced against him back in 1993. In her latest article, which is due out next month, she reveals some startling new details about Jackson's latest teenage accuser and their relationship. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, but it's next week, not next month.
All right, Nick, very good.
What it is.
Well, actually, it is next month because it is February. We've
Right.
got to set the record straight. Let me start with the very beginning of the article, because you talk about Michael Jackson drinking wine. What does he call wine?
Well, he calls white wine Jesus juice and red wine Jesus blood.
And how does he drink it?
He drinks it out of Coke cans or 7-Up cans or orange soda cans.
And this is seeing him walking around with these cans is sort of a ubiquitous thing.
Yeah. And I don't know how often the real stuff is in it versus the wine is in it, but that's the way he does it because he really wants everybody to think he's Peter Pan.
And who does he give it to?
Well, in the latest allegations of this 13-year-old cancer boy, he and his brother were both alleged to have been given wine by Jackson, also shown pornography, naked girls on the internet and in magazines, and given antihistamine pills. The sister was supposedly given sleeping pills. Mm-hmm.
To kind of get her out of the way.
Yes, because as the boys said that Michael told them, girls are tattletales.
there's so many things that you've revealed in this article, not the least of which is that he also seems to have a formidable drug problem.
Yes, well, you recall in 1993 he had to be taken to London to go through detox. Elizabeth Taylor was summoned to Mexico where he was because one of his managers got a phone call saying, you better come down here. Either he's going to kill himself by an overdose or he's going to get killed flying out a window because he thinks he can fly. And since then, I talked to several people and on the record who told me they paid for doctors, both in Germany and in Korea, to try to detox him from Demerol and morphine.
So you think that this drinking then is also going on in concert with his drug
With
use?
pills, and one of the business advisors I spoke to on the record told me that on one trip in 1999, by the end of the flight, he was flat out on the floor. They had to get him up and stagger him off the plane.
One of the other things that it seemed to be most disturbing is a description of the bedroom situation at Neverland Ranch.
Yes, you know, so often when Michael's camp comes on and they say, oh my goodness, that Neverland's a fabulous place, and people come and go, what could possibly be going on there with all the staff? It's easier to get into Fort Knox than it is to get into Michael Jackson's bedroom. He has an alarm so that if you're within 10 feet of the door that leads to the hallway, that leads to the city room, that leads to the bedroom, this huge alarm goes off that you can even hear in the shower with water running.
Internally, the alarm goes off.
Internally, the alarm goes off to him. He has monitors all over. Everything is surveilled in Neverland. Employees are regularly, you know, eavesdropped on, et cetera, et cetera.
And there's even an escape room, so to speak?
Yeah, there's a special cedar closet in the bedroom closet. And if there's some security breach or something happens, there's a special code that they trigger, and they say, Michael, go to your room. And then 5 steel plates come down between the two closets, and he is locked in there until they come get him out.
And because this place is so secure from the get-go, this is clearly not security meant for to protect him from an intruder.
No, because he's got some like concrete beams every 17 feet all over the ground with electronic eyes. I mean, it's absolutely not. It's just the privacy. And also, when he travels around the world, he has this elaborate security set up for his suites and hotels where people who've traveled with him told me he often has little boys in the room with him.
You also refer back a lot to the original molestation case, and you say there are many similarities between the original one and this one.
Exactly. It's striking. It's striking how the pattern emerges. Both boys are 13 years old. They physically resemble one another. When their parents, they come from weak families that the parents are fighting, and when they're at Neverland, the mother is put off to one side. Only the little boys get to stay with Michael. And it got so far that he even had, in both cases, to try to get his own lawyers in to sort of referee custody disputes by the parents. And also, it's alleged that he kept underwear from both boys in a special drawer where he kept certain kids' underwear.
This family that's bringing these new allegations, their life has been made quite difficult.
Their life has been made a shambles, as was the life of the first victim. There's tactics of intimidation going on all the time. People wonder, why is the Nation of Islam there protecting Michael? Well, actually, they had gang members from South Central in the first time around, and it's really to intimidate the Neverland employees and anybody from kind of coming forward, other people. This particular family was kept at Neverland from the time the Martin Bashir documentary aired for about 6 weeks, and they were strongly urged to go to Brazil to live, etc.
In 20 seconds, how would you describe Michael Jackson?
I would describe Michael Jackson as a deeply, deeply troubled and twisted individual who has been catered to so much all of his life, he really doesn't think that he has to adhere to the rules that the rest of us do.
Maureen, thank you so much for coming by this morning.
You're welcome.
It's in this brand new Vanity Fair that comes out in just a couple of days.
In dit gigantische huis is dit de inloopkast van Michael Jackson. Hier hingen al zijn persoonlijke kleren. En achter deze rij met kleren, die er nu niet meer hangen natuurlijk, zat een geheime deur. Die zit er nog steeds. Dit is de safe room. Een ruimte die rijke mensen in hun huis hebben, zodat als er bedreiging is of als er dieven komen, dan kunnen ze zich hierin opsluiten. De safe room van Michael Jackson. Op het landgoed praat ik met Kelly Parker. Ze werkt nu in Hollywood als producer van films. Maar ooit was zij goed bevriend met Michael Jackson. Dat is wel wat langer geleden.
We shot for a year, and I was 10, 11 in that time frame. And then I also continued to be friends with him for about a decade.
Yeah. So you've been here?
I have. I came here 3 times. The first time I came, I was probably about 12, and the last time I was probably about 18, 19.
And what is it like to be back?
It's a little bit surreal. You know, I have so many wonderful memories here. It's a little bit weird that there's no furniture, you know, that it's empty. So I feel him here, but I don't at the same time.
How do you feel him?
Just all the memories I have when I look around of all the great times we had here, and having a water balloon fight right out here. And
you played here. Were the attractions up already then?
They were. The first time that I came, sorry.
Okay.
The first time that I came, he had actually just purchased the land. So it was pretty much the guest house and the main house and a couple other things. And then each time I came back, he had added more and more. So the last time I came, there was the full amusement park and the zoo and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal to be here just you know, a week after his death. I mean, how do you feel about this place coming back here? Did you have good memories of it, or after all the stories about Michael, how do you feel being back here?
Oh, I have nothing but amazing memories from the entire time that I knew him and was friends with him. I can't say enough good things. He just had this unconditional love. He was so pure. And yeah, I just have so many great memories.